Well, hello. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone is having a good day out there around the world. It's always amazing to me to think that people from around the world are actually watching this. Hey, we'll get started with this English lesson about pests in about 30 seconds. Let me just do my regular checks to make sure everything is working. I did do a little test this morning and everything was working well. Sounds like everything's working great. So if you look at the number counting down, you'll see that we'll start in about 10 seconds. I'm excited. I think this will be a fun lesson, although we are going to talk about things that not everybody enjoys. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this English lesson about pests. Pests in English refers to anything like an animal, an insect, even plants that are annoying, things that bother you, things that maybe do things like try to eat your garbage, or in the case of something like a fruit fly, they land on your fruit on your kitchen counter. Pests are not fun, but there are pests all around us. So in this English lesson, I'll talk about those pests. I'll talk about what they're called, and then I'll talk about some of the actions that we take, some of the things we do to get rid of those pests. So welcome once again to this English lesson about pests. Before we get started, I do want to mention a few things. First of all, thanks to Dave for being here. Second thing, there will be a live English lesson tomorrow. Now, I haven't checked the weather. I should do that for a moment, shouldn't I? Let's see what the weather says about tomorrow, and I'll do an audio test as well. Yes, it says tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, fog patches dissipating in the morning, but it doesn't say rain. So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to do a live lesson outside tomorrow. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. We're going to talk about pests. If you have a question, please use the link that will be provided in the chat. I do want to say hi to Paco-san, Adi, Dave the Canadian again, Mode Eggs, Lolly Lolly, Vitor, Foxy Caddy, Harry 300, Tony is here as well. Let me scroll back. Wanda Prado, Leticia. I'm just trying to pick out all the members to say hi to, and then some of the regulars as well. Hi to Bader and Gaurav and Mohammed and Miriam and Vivian and everyone who is here. I think we should get this lesson started. What do you think? Let's have at it. So the very first thing that you want to do if you have pests, now again, pests are things like flies and mosquitoes and weeds in your garden, is you want to get rid of them. This is the English phrase we use when we talk about pests. If you have flies in your house, you want to get rid of them. If you have weeds in your garden, you want to get rid of them. Please don't use a flamethrower like this person is doing, but this person obviously has some kind of pests in his bedroom, and he is trying to get rid of those pests. He's using a method that's not recommended, but it might be effective. So again, when you have pests, when you have things like that, insects or animals that are bothering you, you want to get rid of them. And again, for this first section, I'm mostly going to be talking about insects, or what we also sometimes call bugs. You might say, oh, there's a lot of bugs out today, or there's a lot of insects out today. We use bugs more often, I think. It's kind of the more common term when talking about insects, but they do mean the same thing. So there are a lot of bugs in the world. The first one we're going to talk about is the fly. We usually refer to flies in our houses as flies or the common house fly. Flies can be very, very annoying. In fact, a fly just flew by me right now. For some reason, flies love to be where people are, usually because we leave food or other things out, and the flies just really enjoy eating them or feasting on them. So flies are generally a problem. And how do we handle that? Well, sometimes we just get a fly swatter. That's a handy thing to have. I have my fly swatter here because there is a fly in this room right now trying to attend this English lesson. But flies I find very, very annoying. Here's something cool about Canada though. You don't have flies in the winter. And if you do, they're very, very slow. There aren't very many flies in the winter, basically none. And if you do see a fly, it's usually very, very slow, and it's easy to swat them. We sometimes use something called fly strips or fly paper in order to take care of a fly problem. So if you want to get rid of flies, you might hang something like this up in your house. We don't use these in our house, but we do have some of these in our barn. In our barn, we have some goats, and flies usually like to be around animals as well. So we hang up fly strips in our barn. We hang up fly paper in our barn, and usually that catches some of the flies. And then sadly, this once the fly gets stuck on the fly paper, that's the end for the fly. It doesn't survive very long. Another thing we do with flies is we shoo them away. So this is an interesting English word. When there's a fly or a mosquito buzzing around your head, sometimes you do this with your hands, and this is called shooing the fly away. You might even say shoo, shoo. You might even say the word. When I'm sitting around a campfire, sometimes there are mosquitoes, and you'll see me going like this to try and shoo them away. Notice this spelling of shoe is different than the thing that you wear on your foot. And then, of course, there's something called fly spray. We do not use a lot of fly spray. We usually try to use fly paper or use a fly swatter to control our flies. But sometimes when you have too many flies and it's an infestation, you might spray some fly spray. In our barn, in the area where we have our goats, sometimes during the summer, there's too many flies. And when the goats are out on pasture eating grass, we might spray a little bit of fly spray to control the infestation. So this would be a can of fly spray. And then, of course, there are fruit flies. Fruit flies, to me, are amazing. If you leave fruit out in your kitchen, if you leave fruit out on the counter, after a day or two, you'll have some fruit flies. And if you wait one more day without cleaning up the fruit, you will have hundreds of fruit flies. Fruit flies reproduce very, very quickly. You can see that they are very tiny as well. You can't really swat fruit flies like you can house flies, but this is definitely a problem. If you leave fruit out on your counter, eventually you will have fruit flies. They'll come in droves, we say in English, when they can smell the fruit. So one of the things we do in Canada to help keep pests like flies out of our houses is we have screens on our windows. So when I open my windows, I can't stick my hand out because there is a screen on the window that stops flies and mosquitoes from getting in. So it's very, very handy to have screens on your windows. You can open your window and enjoy the fresh air, and at the same time prevent bugs and insects from coming into your house. We call them window screens as well. So screens or window screens. There's also ants. Now, ants can be a problem in your house. They can also be a problem outside of your house. We definitely have ants in Canada. If we leave food out on the counter, especially if someone spills something very, very sweet, like if someone spills soda or what we call pop or Coke or a little bit of fruit juice, the ants seem to really love that. If you leave little breadcrumbs or sugar out, the ants will come and they will carry it away back to their nest. So what do you do if you have ants? You use ant traps, and it always makes me laugh because these don't actually trap ants. When the ant goes in, a door doesn't close and trap the ant. When the ant goes in, it gets a little bit of ant poison and it takes it back to its home, and then all of the ants end up eating it and dying. So if you have ants, you use ant traps to try and get rid of them. I'm going to be using that phrase a lot. You want to get rid of flies. You want to get rid of ants. You want to get rid of them. You might also just buy bug spray. So you might call this ant spray. But when we talk about sprays in my part of Canada, we say things like fly spray and bug spray. And bug spray basically will kill any kind of insect. So you might go to the hardware store and say, I really, really, really need some bug spray. So that's the thing that you would use if you needed to get rid of bugs. And the formal word is insecticide. Now, in Canada, there are a lot of regulations about insecticide use. You can buy bug spray or fly spray, which is a very, very weak insecticide. If you want to use something stronger, there are a lot of rules and regulations from the government. As a farmer, if I want to use a really strong insecticide, I have to take a course and I have to get a certificate to use it. So you can buy some things, but it's very, very weak. If you need something stronger, you do need to get a certificate to be able to use it. Let's talk a little bit about mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are probably the most annoying pest that I can think of. Whenever I'm outside, I'm always annoyed when mosquitoes land on me. You can hear mosquitoes buzzing, and maybe you try to shoo them away, or you try to swat them with your hand. Sometimes you swat something with your hand as well. But the problem with mosquitoes is that they bite. So you want to use something like a bug repellent or mosquito repellent. So notice that these are things that you spray on yourself, and it makes you smell funny. And the mosquitoes don't like the smell. So whenever we go outside at night, we usually don't have very many mosquitoes during the day, but when we go outside at night, we usually put on bug repellent. And in Canada, the most common brand is something called Off. That's literally what it's called. And we use this when we're camping or doing things outside. Did you bring some Off? Oh, I need to spray some Off on me. So if you ever hear someone say that, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about this product, which is a bug repellent, which works really, really well with mosquitoes. That's generally what it's made for. If I work outside at night, I put some Off on. Doesn't that sound funny? I put some Off on before I go outside. And then to finish up mosquitoes, this is what a mosquito bite looks like. They are itchy and you like to scratch them for about half a day, and then they're not too bad. And you get a little bump and then it turns a little bit red. They're not harmful normally, but it depends what part of the world you live in. In Canada, we do not have malaria, but we do have West Nile virus. There is always a chance you could get that. It's very, very slim. But usually a mosquito bite is not a problem. It's usually just itchy for a day and then it goes away. In some parts of the world, people will sleep with a mosquito net. This is not common in Canada because we have screens on our windows and we try to keep our houses protected from mosquitoes at all times. But sometimes too, you will still hear one while you're sleeping, buzzing, and you're trying to sleep and you hear a mosquito in your room. It's not very, very nice when you hear that. Hey, let's look at a few questions. I did notice in the chat, someone asked, why are there S's at the end of all the words? So I've pluralized almost everything today. Flies, mosquitoes. When you talk about something in general in English, you usually use the plural. So today we're talking about bugs, insects, fruit flies, mosquitoes, ants. We almost always use the plural form when referring to something when we're talking about it. So just so you know why things are pluralized. Here we go. Let me find the next or the first question. This is a good one. Azam says, hi, Bob. Have you watched the Jeremy Clarkson's Farm on Amazon Prime? Yes, I have. I didn't know how challenging farming could be. Farming is very challenging. One of the problems with farming is you can have pests. So when you grow crops, you have weeds. When you have animals, there are things that will attack your animals, like parasites. That's another kind of pest that I'm not talking about today. But yeah, and sometimes it's just dry and you're waiting for rain. From Kurdish, have insects changed since you were a child? Did you know someone who kept insects as a pet at home? So they have changed in the sense that there's something called a tick, We have a lot of ticks around here now. When I was a kid, we didn't. And I'll talk about ticks in a little bit. And no, I don't know anyone that kept insects as pets. That would be interesting. I guess you could have pet grasshoppers, maybe pets. I don't think anyone has pet mosquitoes. BB says, can silly and boring people be pests? So when you call someone a pest in English, it usually means they're doing something to bother you. If I was sitting somewhere and someone just kept poking the back of my head, I would say they're being a pest. If someone kept taking my pens at work, I would say they're being a pest. So it's someone not silly or boring, but someone who does something to bother you. Alex says, who are you? I'm Bob the Canadian. I am a Canadian who lives in Ontario, Canada, near Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, if you want to look on a map. And I teach English on YouTube. That's who I am. Sella says, hello, Teacher Bob. I wish you happiness always. Are there pests that spoil the flowers on your farm? There are some. We have an insect called a leaf hopper, and we have different kinds of caterpillars that sometimes try to eat the flowers. But usually, first of all, we don't spray for them. It's very nice that we rotate our crops and we have a very low amount of pests. So if there are 10 flowers to be harvested, 1 or 2 flowers might have been eaten a little bit and we can't use it, but 7 or 8 are good. So we're lucky that way. Canada is not, there are pests here, but maybe not as many as other countries. Lemon says, don't know why, but I'm very afraid of cockroach. That's actually the next slide, by the way. Cockroaches when they're flying, maybe just because I think they'll fly into my face. Cockroaches, I don't like them. By the way, this whole lesson might give some people the willies, is that the word for it? They might just feel a little annoyed or grossed out or creeped out because I'm showing so many bugs. From Apple the Frog, hello Bob, how are you? I'm good, Apple. Hope you're doing well. My question is, do Canadians often use fly swatters to get rid of them? Yes, definitely. Every house you go to, there will be a fly swatter. At work, we have fly swatters. My classroom has a fly swatter. It is the most common way to get rid of flies, for sure. Flash says, the difference between wasp and hornet, I'm not 100% sure. Someone in the chat might know. We tend to have more wasps around here, and when they sting you, it certainly hurts. By the way, mosquitoes bite you, but wasps and bees sting you, just so you know the difference. Ario says, hello, I'm just waking up, 7:30 p.m. here. I'm late. Could you please explain this word for me? Pests. So the official definition is any insect, animal, or plant that is annoying to humans. So maple trees are not pests. We really like maple trees. But dandelions can be considered a pest because lots of them grow in the lawn. Let's see here. William says, hi Bob, what is the best way to get rid of rats? I want to put some baits to kill rats, but I'm afraid just in case my dog eats them. Cats are the best way for us to get rid of rats. We have farm cats, and they certainly do a good job of making sure there aren't very many mice or rats around. Oh, next question, Henry from Taiwan. Hi, Teacher Bob. How do you manage to do pest control, especially rodent, rat, and mouse on your farm, on your barn and farms? Thank you. So same question. Cats. We have a lot of cats. We have over 10 cats that live in our barn, and we feed them cat food, but they also have a job to do, and their job is to make sure there aren't a lot of mice and rats in our barn. Now, the second thing we do, Henry, is we do not let rats and mice get access to the cat food, dog food, or goat feed in our barn. We keep it in containers so they can't get it. One of the reasons you get rats and mice is because they eat food that you have in your barn or feed. So we make sure we don't have a lot of that. Harry said, I watched a video where you talked about a region in your country that has an incredibly long name. Can you pronounce that name? The only name I can think of is the province of Saskatchewan. That might be what I was talking about. If you go west, I'm in Ontario. If you go west, you will get to a province called Saskatchewan. Very, very long name. Sarah has an interesting question. Bob, do you think we can achieve anything by imagining before reality? Yes. I think imagining what something will be like or could be like and then planning for it can really, really help you do a good job when you actually do it. Let me see here. Varvara. Hi, Bob. In Spain, mosquitoes don't buzz. They bite right away. How about in Canada? Usually you can hear them buzzing, but when you hear them buzzing, buzzing, there's usually another one already biting you somewhere. So it's, I find mosquitoes very annoying. So from Musa, hi Bob, no questions, but here's a fun fact. I have 6 big fat beetles that I keep as pets. Yet another fun fact, their names are Brownie, Pickles, Pebble, and Dirt. Very cool. I didn't know people kept insects as pets. Hey, let me just scroll through the chat for a second. Naomi says, Ariel, we are annoyed, a bit cooler weather today. Oh, yeah, we are having hot weather and lots of rain. Bode says, Dandelion, just ask your kids to blow them before they bloom. Yes. And then Lemon says, Min from Vietnam, sometimes they're flying around my house and make me scared. Yeah, let's go back to the lesson and let's talk about the next slide, because I think that's what is being talked about here in the chat. Cockroaches. We do not have a lot of cockroaches in my part of Canada. I think as you go north in the world, you have less of them. We do have cockroaches. Let me just do a search for a sec. Cockroaches. Insects, yeah, they're definitely, the further south you go, there are more of them, I think. But yes, cockroaches, I don't like them. When I lived in the United States, we had a house where there were some cockroaches. Very, very gross. That would be the word I would use to describe cockroaches. Let's talk about things, though, that aren't insects. So in Canada, we definitely have mice. Mice come into our house and they are annoying. Once again, mice really like it if you leave food out by accident. If you eat a sandwich and little breadcrumbs fall, mice are like happy at night. It's like a little feast for them. But mice are annoying because they will make holes into things to get at the food. So what we use generally are mouse traps. I know this doesn't seem very nice, but you put some bait in the mouse trap and you set the mouse trap, and then when the mouse comes to eat the bait, the trap goes off and it kills the mouse. There's no nice way to talk about this. We want to get rid of mice, and so that's how we do it. We set mouse traps, we put bait. We don't actually use cheese though. We usually use peanut butter. We find that mice really, really like peanut butter. So we get mouse traps, we put peanut butter in as bait, and then when the mouse comes, the trap goes. I don't have a picture of a mouse in a trap. I think that's not what people came here to see, but definitely that is how you catch them. Some people will use mouse poison. Now, some of this type of stuff is not, you can't buy as much as you used to be able to in Canada. There are a lot of restrictions on using mouse poison. You can still buy some mouse poison, but the problem with mouse poison is that the mouse dies somewhere in the walls of your house and then it starts to smell. So I prefer mouse traps. Rats. So I'd like to say a rat is just a bigger form of a mouse, but it's not. It's kind of a different animal entirely. Rats are gross. We once had rats in our garage, the garage of our house, because we had our dog food in a spot where the rats could find it, and they thought it was great. There was this big bag of food for them to eat. So it took us a little while. We ended up not having food for the dog in our garage, and eventually we didn't have rats anymore. You can also buy rat traps, which is just a mouse trap, but it's way bigger. When I was a kid, we used to build little cars, and we would use a mouse trap as the source of propulsion. You would set the trap and there would be a string to the axle of the little car. And when you set off the mouse trap, the car would drive. I don't know if you've ever built those. And then we got to the point where we went and bought rat traps and we built bigger cars. But a rat trap is something you can use to get rid of rats. And then of course there's poison, just like there is for mice. And there is something called a bait station as well. In Canada, if you use rat poison or mouse poison, it has to be in a special container called a bait station so that other animals won't try to eat the poison. So this is a little bait station. You would put the rat or mouse poison inside, and the rat or mouse can go in the little hole and eat it. But your cat and dog can't, or even children can't play with it, right? So it's a safe way to use poison. You would put it in a bait station. And then lastly, for those, the lesson's not over, not lastly, but lastly about rats and mice, I think the best solution is get a cat. We do not have a cat in the house, but if we really had a mouse problem, I would probably get a cat. We do, like I said, have cats in the barn, and they do a very, very good job of controlling the mouse and rat population. And again, we try to keep the barn clean so that we don't have a big problem. Of course, if you have a cat or a dog, you might have fleas. Fleas are really, really tiny bugs that live on cats and dogs. And I think I don't know a lot about fleas, but they somehow feed off the cat or a dog. They're not very nice, fleas, at all. You want to get rid of fleas if your dog or cat has them. One way that you can do that is by having them wear a flea collar. You can see that this cat is wearing a special collar. This collar, I think, has some insecticide on it. It has something on it that kills fleas and something called a tick. And so you will buy a flea collar for your cat or dog so that you can get rid of the fleas. That's what we've done before in the past. We've gotten flea collars. You can also get flea shampoo, a special shampoo. The fly's here. Here he is. He's landing on the fly swatter. Maybe you saw him go by. I hope so. I wanted him to be part of the lesson. You might wash your dog or cat. It's a little easier to give a dog a bath than a cat in order to get rid of fleas as well. You can buy a special shampoo that has something in it as well to get rid of the fleas. Crickets. So a cricket is an interesting little bug. It makes a loud sound like cricky, cricky, cricky. That's my cricket sound. Sorry. Cricky, cricky, cricky. It's not a very good cricket sound. If you end up having a cricket in your house, it's very, very annoying. They're very, very loud. One time I was doing a live stream a few years ago. I don't know if some of you who have been around remember, and there was a cricket in the room. And whenever I stopped talking, the cricket would go, cricky, 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 and it was really, really annoying. We have crickets in Canada, definitely. They are very loud when you get them in your house. So loud that it's hard to sleep if there is a cricket in your room. Now I mentioned ticks as well. Ticks, I'll zoom in on this. We've had ticks in this area for a while, but there are a lot of ticks. In the last 5 or 10 years, if you walk through the long grass, when you get back in the house, you have to check to make sure you don't have any ticks on you. Ticks will crawl on you and they'll find a spot, and then they'll kind of poke a hole into your skin and try to drink your blood. That's what ticks like to do. So it's important to find them quickly. They also carry a disease here called Lyme disease. So if you see a tick on someone, you need to get it off really, really quickly. And that's why, again, we have flea and tick collars for our dogs. By the way, there's also a pill you can give your dog that gets rid of fleas and ticks. I'm not sure how it works. And there's also little drops you can put on them. I didn't mention those, but there are other alternatives. We do not have termites in my part of Canada, but I know in the southern United States, sometimes people will have a termite infestation. Termites will move into their house and start eating the wood. Many homes in Canada and the United States are built from wood. We have lots of trees. It's a readily accessible material to build things. So often we will build our houses out of wood. Termites, some termites love wood, and they'll move in and they'll start eating the wood in your house. I think they eat it. They certainly destroy the wood slowly over time. We do not have termites in this area. At least to my knowledge, it's not very common at all, but definitely annoying. Okay, the next one might gross you out a bit. It's lice. So lice are little tiny bugs that live in your hair. As soon as I say lice, I want to scratch my head. Lice are only a problem in this part of the world with young children in school. Every once in a while, we might get a letter from school saying someone in a class has lice. Make sure you start checking your kid's hair for lice and for the little eggs, I guess you would call them, but lice. But as soon as we get a letter like that, everyone in our house starts scratching their head because we imagine we can feel something on our head. But lice, definitely something common in this part of the world. And then we mentioned wasps. I don't have hornets on here. And someone asked what the difference was between wasps and hornets. I'm just going to check for a sec between wasps and hornets. So it says a wasp colony tends to be smaller. Hornets colonies are much larger. But it's quite difficult to tell the difference by appearance. So they are different. But wasps. So we have wasp nests everywhere on our property, especially when I go to use a piece of farm equipment, or if I'm using something I haven't used in a while, I will check to see if wasps have built a nest on it, because I don't want to get bit or stung by wasps. When you get a wasp sting, it's very, very annoying. And some people, I think people can be allergic to wasps, definitely to bees. But yes, wasps. Wasps are not my friend. They're very, very annoying. Hey, let's go and do some members only questions. As I do that, I do want to say hi to there's over 500 people watching. That's really cool. Welcome to everyone who is here. First of all, we're going to do members only questions for a bit, but that doesn't mean, I'm just trying to find the setting here. That doesn't mean the lesson is over. So please do stick around if you're not a member, because I will get back to the rest of the lesson in 10 minutes. And if you are a member, you can ask questions directly in the chat right now. So go ahead and do that if you want. Let me just check to make sure that actually turned on. I'm not sure if it did or not. Let me just double check that for a minute. Oh yeah, it says it turned on. Maybe there's just a slight delay. Anyways, if you are a member, you can ask questions directly in the chat, and I will keep answering questions from the forum as well. Audie says, hi, Bob. 15 years ago, I used glue mousetrap, and I catch 4 of them. It was very confusing because they were looking and asked me, like, give us free. Oh, set us free. I'm going to fix that. But I put them to a plastic bag and put in the trash. It's sad. Yeah. Sometimes when you have pests, you have to, you got to get rid of them. Naomi says, hi, Teacher Bob. Have you ever seen a mouse caught in a mousetrap? Yes, definitely. That is something that I have seen. I don't know what to say, because it's sad when you have to get rid of an animal, but sometimes it just needs to be done. Danny over here says, in Spanish, we sometimes use the word pest in order to refer to an annoying person. Can we use it also in English? Definitely. Yeah, he's being a pest. But when someone's a pest, they have to be doing or saying something that's annoying, and kind of repetitively a little bit. Vidor, can I use pest as someone who keeps annoying you, especially a child? Yes. Oh, your kid's a pest. Freddie Wolf, do you have some aphids on your flowers, and therefore do you have ladybugs to eat them? When aphids, a really, really small insect, when aphids appear on our plants, we wait about a week, and then the ladybugs come and start to eat them. So it's very, very cool to see that. Lolly says, does Oscar ever get rats, and do your cats wear a flea collar? Thanks. Our cats don't have flea collars, but they don't have a lot of fleas on them. So that's good. And yes, Oscar will definitely hunt mice and rats. That does happen. Noriko says to Audie, I had the same memory. I can tell. Yes. Let me get the next question here. Let's see here. Red says, hi, how can we be more comfortable in this country if you don't know where you live or what is going on in the future, or not the same thing you have, son? Not sure what you're asking exactly. How can we be more comfortable in this country if you don't know where you live? Yeah, well, life, I know I'm a little philosophical here. Life can be stressful. You need to get to know the area where you live, and you need to start to make plans for the future. Hopefully that can help you. Let's see here. Freddie Wolf, can you call specialist people to destroy the Asian hornet nests? Yes, we have pest control, which we also sometimes call exterminators. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And from Audie the Thai says to Noriko, I never forget. Mode Ag says, hi, Mr. Bob. I think this lesson could also be titled Pest Peeves. Would you mind sharing any funny encounters you have had with mice or rats? So pests looks a lot like the word pets, but there's an extra S in there. So no, but I can tell you, not with mice or rats, but I can tell you that I once got stung by wasps. And as I was running away, I ran to a spot and then I touched another wasp's nest and got stung again. I can also say that I almost got sprayed by a skunk once in our barn. Our dog at the time got sprayed, but I didn't. But I saw the skunk, I saw our dog, I saw the skunk spray the dog, and it was strong. Even though I didn't get sprayed, I still really, really smelled. Hi, Bob. What is the worst pest for your flowers? This is from William's Korean class. So birds like to eat seeds when we plant them, so we don't like birds. And then we have something called a leaf hopper, which sometimes gets in and eats some of our dahlias. But generally, we don't have much of a pest problem in the flower field. Lolly Lolly says, merci, Bob. Harry300 says, Bob, do you have lizards in your house? Brown small lizards that normally stick on the wall. We don't. There are no lizards in this part of the world. I think there's something called a mud puppy that lives outside, a little salamander, but we don't have many of that kind of animal here. Brent, hey Brent, I hope your basement is getting fixed up. I saw that all the drywall was removed in your one video from the bottom 1.5 feet, so hopefully things are dried out and getting repaired. Anyways, speak English with this guy. Brent says, we use the verb pester in the US. Is that common in Canada? Yes, someone can pester someone else. Stop pestering your sister. That means stop bothering your sister. Stop being a pest. So great word, Brent. Yaroslav saying hi to Mode. Key Park says cicadas are annoying in the summer as well. We sometimes hear them outside, but they're not as loud. Mode, can you shoo birds as well, Mr. Bob? Yes, you can shoo many things away. Like I'm going to shoo the mice away. Yeah, you wouldn't really shoo mice away. You would shoo a fly. Yes, I think so. I think you can shoo birds as well. Like shoo, get away birds. Stop eating our sunflowers. Brent says, whatever happened to murder hornets? That was big news during the summer of 2020. Sounds horrible. Yeah, I don't know. That was in the news a lot. I haven't heard about them lately. Viva says, hi Bob. Freddie Wolf. Oh, hi Viva. Freddie Wolf says, je n'arrête pas de me gratter quand je pense à tous ces insectes. It's very hard for me to say the IN in French. Insect, insect, insect. I always get it a little bit wrong. Yes, it's very annoying to have a lesson on insects. Cecilia says, hey, Bob, better late than never. Glad to see you. You too, Cecilia. Good to see you. Anna says, I put some container we're equipped with poison. Yeah, so I can see how that would work. We generally try to get rid of things without poison in Canada. I think, once again, there's a lot of restrictions, and it can be a little tricky to use that safely. Mode says, okay, that's my time for today. Enjoy the rest of the lesson. Have a good weekend. You too, Mode. Thanks for stopping in. Harry300 says, wasps. Haha, I pronounce it over and over. It is kind of funny to pronounce it. Well, try to say the plural, wasps. It's hard for me to say it. I got bit by a wasp. I got stung by a wasp. There was a wasp's nest. I almost have to slow down to be able to say wasp's nest. Let's see here. Mikalo, hello, Teacher Bob. Thank you for your effort. My question is, word swat, it's meant to kill some pests? Thank you. So when you swat a fly, you're definitely killing the fly. Yes, that is definitely what you are doing, for sure. Nico, what insects or bugs are the most common ones in Canada? Definitely mosquitoes, caterpillars, flies are very, very common for sure. Let's see here. I'm going to skip the next question. Freddie the Frenchie. Hi, Bob. J'espère que ça va bien avec toi. Is that how you would say it? I think so. Currently, increasingly, insects are offered as food. Have you ever tried to eat them? No, but they are experimenting in Canada with alternate forms of protein for human consumption. A lot of big words there. One of the things they're looking at, I think, are grasshoppers and raising grasshoppers on grasshopper farms, and then drying them and turning them into a protein for humans to eat. Very, very interesting, for sure. Sechin says, does saliva of dog cause any harm to us? No, unless the dog has something called rabies, which is not very nice. Noriko over here says, morning, sir. Does Canada have centipedes? Yes, we do. Millipedes, centipedes. Here in Japan, they are crawling outside, especially rainy season, and they sneak into our house when it starts to rain. We do not have them in our house, and I don't actually know a lot about them. It's rare for me to see a centipede or millipede, but I'm pretty sure we do have them. Over in the members chat, let me finish that up. Noriko says to Harry, here in Japan, the type of lizards are not harmful, right? Harry says, normally they like to eat mosquitoes. It is one of the disgusting animals for me. Ah, I see. Gotcha. And Yaroslav says no members mode. I think we're in members mode. It just doesn't, I don't think it announced that we were in members mode, but we are going to leave members mode now. I'm going to go back to subscriber mode, and we will continue the lesson in a moment. Let me do a check of the audio for a sec. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to get back to the lesson. I will finish up the questions a bit later. Let's get through the last few slides. We had just talked about wasps. So here we go. Bed bugs. Bed bugs are annoying. We do not have a lot of bed bugs in Canada. I think that bed bugs sometimes are the result of not keeping things clean enough. But bed bugs are little bugs that will live in your bed. And I don't know a whole lot about them, but they must be very, very annoying to have if you have them in your part of the world. Deer. We do not have a big problem with deer, but some flower farmers do. Some flower farmers have deer that come and eat their flowers. Luckily, we don't. There are deer around us, but they tend to eat my soybeans in my soybean field instead. So deer can be a problem. Sometimes people will plant a vegetable garden and deer will come and eat the vegetables. They'll eat the lettuce. They'll eat the beans. They'll eat everything in the garden, and there will be nothing for the people to eat. So definitely deer. We do not have a huge problem with grasshoppers and locusts here. We do have grasshoppers. I'm not a scientist, but I think grasshoppers hop and locusts fly, but some of you who are more familiar with these animals might know. But certainly grasshoppers are around, but we do not have so many that they cause a problem. So grasshoppers in some parts of the world, though, grasshoppers and locusts will eat crops. You can see in this picture, they're starting to eat the leaves of this crop. So certainly they can be a pest. We definitely have caterpillars, though. In fact, the caterpillar that comes from something called the gypsy moth. So there's a caterpillar, and then it makes a cocoon, and it comes out as a moth or butterfly. The gypsy moth caterpillar is very destructive sometimes in the spring. In fact, this past spring, they had a helicopter that was flying around spraying insecticide, trying to kill some of the caterpillars that were eating the trees. So definitely caterpillars can be quite destructive. They'll just chew. You can see them. They'll finish a tree off in like 3 days. The tree will have hardly any leaves. It's a little bit crazy. Raccoons can also be a pest. In our part of Canada, if you leave your garbage out at night, If you put your garbage at the road the night before, there's a good chance a raccoon is going to come and they're going to get into your garbage. Raccoons are really good at figuring out how to open garbage cans, even if they have a sturdy lid. Sometimes raccoons will still get them open. Let me just check something here for a sec. I think I spelled raccoon wrong. Definitely I spelled raccoon wrong. So if you're seeing raccoon with one C, it actually has two C's. So when you look at that slide, there's a mistake. I made a mistake last week too. I spelt two with one O instead of two. So maybe I'm not the best person to learn English from. Anyways, raccoons can certainly be a problem. And birds. We have raspberry bushes. Raspberries are little red or purple berries. They're very, very yummy, but if we don't get them in time, the birds eat them. The birds come and they eat the raspberries. So birds can certainly be pests as well. When we plant seeds, sometimes we spread seeds on the ground and the birds will come and they'll eat the seeds if they're close to the surface. So what some people do is they will put a scarecrow in their field. So a scarecrow is basically you get some wood and you put some clothes on it so it looks like a person, and then usually the wind makes it move a little bit and the scarecrow scares some of the birds away. And by the way, I think it has the name scarecrow because they're trying to scare away crows. Like there's a bird called a crow. I don't have a picture of it. We once had a problem with squirrels in our attic. This is a raccoon, by the way. Once again, raccoon is spelled with two C's, not one. This is a raccoon and it's in a trap. We had squirrels living in the attic of our house. So we had to trap them and then we let them go at the other end of the farm. And then we covered all the holes that they were using to get in. So a trap is a very humane way to catch an animal so that you can let it go somewhere else. And then, of course, if you have a problem, you can call pest control. There are people who will come and they will trap pests or they will spray for pests. They will do whatever needs to be done to get rid of the pests for you. They might get rid of animals. They might get rid of bugs or insects, but you might need to call pest control if you have a pest problem and you can't take care of it yourself. And we sometimes call these people exterminators, although this word is not as common anymore. I think pest control sounds nicer than exterminator. So you would say, I'm going to call pest control. The person's still called an exterminator, though. I would still call the person who drives this truck, you might call them a pest control worker, but I would still call them an exterminator. And we talked a little bit about cleanliness. One of the best ways to prevent having pests, to prevent getting pests, is to make sure your home and the area you live is very clean. One of the reasons pests come is because they want to eat your cat food or your dog food or the little breadcrumbs that you left on the kitchen counter, or maybe your child spilled some juice on the floor of the kitchen. So just keeping your home clean can be very, very helpful because pests are almost always looking for food. They're looking for something to eat, and your kitchen is usually the best place to find it. They love the garbage can as well. And then I didn't talk about this too much, but there is one other kind of pest, and those are weeds. We would call these pests as well. Normally when we talk about pests, we're talking about insects and animals, but weeds fall into this category as well. Sometimes plants grow where you don't want them to grow, and that can be very, very frustrating as well. You can go and buy a hand weeder and you can weed them if you want to. And then as well, there is something called weed spray or herbicide. So insecticide kills insects, herbicides kill plants. I don't have a slide for that, but you can buy herbicides. By the way, in Canada, herbicides are very tightly controlled. It's not very easy to buy herbicides. Again, if you're a farmer and you need to spray your field, you need a special certificate and training in order to use it. So that was a lesson on pests. I'm going to jump back to the questions in a minute. But I think that I wanted to go back and answer Yaroslav's question. Morning, the wisest teacher, Bob. Hope you're doing great. What was the most extraordinary pet you have heard people kept? I've always thought that people who had piranhas, that fish with the teeth, that's a very interesting pet. I would never have that pet, but certainly an interesting one to have. Hey, let's get back to the questions and finish that up. Min from Vietnam over here says, hello, Bob. How are you? Are you scared of any pests? So are you scared of any pests? Yes, I'm scared of skunks, which I didn't mention in this lesson, and I'm scared of raccoons. Insects don't bother me so much, but animals are, yeah, it's a little bit, they can be scary for sure. From Emra, hello, Mr. Bob. I hope you are doing good. I want to ask that what is the difference between bug and insect? They're the same. Bug is just a more common and somewhat informal way to talk about it. So bugs and insects refer to the same things. So I'm going to skip the next question because it's not about bugs. This one is about live classes. When do you usually have a live class? So every Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do a live lesson on a certain topic. Today's topic is pests. The first Saturday of every month, which happens to be tomorrow, I do a question and answer live stream at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for those of you that like that lesson, that is happening tomorrow, by the way, at 11 a.m. And that happens once a month right now. Hugh from Vietnam. Hi, Bob. Do you guys eat? I'm going to switch 8 for eat. Do you guys eat bugs? No, but I would try them. I'll try anything. I think that bugs as a source of protein is probably a very sustainable way of providing food for people. So I would try them. I just have to find a place. Maybe if they were like roasted and covered in chocolate, that might make them taste better. Alok says, how do you elaborate if a mosquito bites us? You just say a mosquito bit me. Mosquitoes are biting tonight. Oh, I got a mosquito bite. So I used a few different phrases there. A mosquito bit me, past tense. The mosquitoes are biting tonight. So that's just a description. Or I have a mosquito bite on my arm and it's really itchy. That's how I would describe it. Falling Star says, hi, Teacher Bob. I have one question. Are snails an insect? A few years ago, I remember adopting a snail for a few days. Unfortunately, I lost it one day. Have a good day. I think they are. We have snails and we have slugs, which are like snails without a shell. Oh, a snail is not an insect. It's a gastropod. So interesting. So snails are shelled gastropods, not insects. So there you go. Again, this is never a science lesson, just an English lesson. So there you go. Now you know it's a gastropod. Kimmy and Kiwi from Korea. Hello, Bob. I had a tough summer last year because we had a lot of big flies in the house. What would you do if you had 100 huge flies flying in your house? We have enough fly swatters for every person. And sometimes we'll tell our kids, you have to kill 10 flies today. And then that's how we handle it. I think if we had 100, we would just say everyone needs to kill 20 flies. And then I would look for a hole in the screen or a window that doesn't have a screen in it, because that would be weird if that many insects were coming in. Let's see here. Hey, a couple more questions, but before I do that, if you're new here and you're not a subscriber, please consider clicking this little red button that's right here to subscribe to my channel. I think you will enjoy it. So this is from Sophia. Hello, dear Teacher Bob. This topic reminds me about one story written by Newt Gumson, the story about a fly and an author. Have you ever read this story? I have not, but this lesson was inspired by Rowan Atkinson. Has a movie right now that just came out. I haven't seen it, but the movie is called... I can't remember the name of the movie. Maybe so, oh, Man versus Bee. So I saw the preview for Man versus Bee, and it's about a man and a bee, and he kind of destroys a whole bunch of things trying to kill the bee. So let's see here. I think I have one more question to do here. Marcus says, good evening, Teacher Bob. We once found a rat in our house and all of our family members felt panic because we are not, I'm going to correct it, because we did not dare to kill it. Well, rats are scary. When I was a kid, I saw a rat in the barn. It's scary. Rats are very, very scary. So hopefully you found a way to set a trap or do something else to be able to get rid of it. Hey, that's the end of the lesson on pests. I hope you weren't like scared during the lesson. I hope some of the images didn't frighten you. But when you start talking about crickets and mice and rats and lice and fleas, sometimes it might make you feel a little bit uneasy. So hopefully you were able to learn a lot of English during this lesson. A couple of things before I wrap this up. Number one, there is a live stream tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you do have questions, you'll be able to submit a question and I will try to answer it. Number two, this lesson will be made shorter and will be available in a couple of days for you to re-listen to or re-watch. Please do that to help practice the English. And it will have English subtitles that you can turn on if there were parts that you didn't understand. And I think that's everything. I might have a new video out Tuesday. I might take a day off. I'm not 100% sure yet because we have a lot of things going on right now. And I think it's time for me to take a little break. But live stream tomorrow, shorter version of this lesson coming out in a couple days, and certainly another live lesson next week, Friday. I'm not sure what it will be about yet. I'll have to think about it. I wanted to do one on describing human behavior. Like I use the phrase, people came in droves. That means a lot of people came. So maybe I'll do a lesson on human behavior or human activity. We'll see. Anyways, this was fun. I'm going to say bye to Leticia, Adi, Noriko, Naomi, Vitor, Lolly, Speak English with This Guy, Wanda, Yaroslav, Key Park, Freddie Wolf, Vitor, Patana, Cecilia Romea, Harry 300. Let me scroll back here. Bye to Ario, who I know is here somewhere. Musa, bye Musa, have a good day. Bye to Haruki, Min, Mahmood. Good to see you, Mahmood. Mahmood says, what happened to the short English lesson to the other channel? So yesterday was a busy day for me. I had some men here installing a new furnace, and I didn't get around to making a video, Mahmood, for my second channel. So sorry about that. Anyways, thanks, Dave, for helping out. Thanks to all of you for being here and learning a little bit of English. Have a good Friday and have a good weekend. And see you next Friday with another lesson just like this one. Bye. Should end with my, see if I can find that fly. There were actually 2 flies at a certain point. I thought they were going to join the lesson. I didn't want to demonstrate the use of a fly swatter, but I could have at least attempted to. You know, when the flies see the fly swatter, I think they hide. I think they can actually sense or see the fly swatter and then they hide. Anyways, bye everybody. Have a good day.